Today we started chapter 4. We talked about writing the equations given the intercept and the slope, and then we started solving for y to graph. Today we're going to be writing equations by a couple different ways. We're going to be given the slope and 1 point, and then we're going to be given 2 points. And we got to write the equation from there. Okay? So we're still working with our friend y equals mx plus b. Okay, and also what else is going to show up today is our slope formula. Remember our friends? Those are coming back. Okay, so find this slide here. It gives us a point and a slope. So what do we normally label a point? XY, right? And since we only have one, I'm just going to put XY. What do we label a slope? M, good. Now, we are still using y equals mx plus b. So what don't we have out of all of that? We have y, we have x, we have m. We don't have a b. So we need to solve for b, because that's a very important part to the slope-intercept form, right? That's part of the name. So we got to find b. So the reason we labeled is because we're going to plug in what we have. So what did I say y was?
-3.
Y is -3 equals, what's our slope?
2.
Slope is 1/2. Our x is 2. And then we don't know what b is, so we're just going to put plus b. Okay? Now we just need to solve for b. So let's simplify. We have -3. What's 1/2 times 2? 1 plus b. And then our last step would be to, how do we get b by itself? Subtract 1. So we get -4 equals b, yeah? -4 equals b. But that is not the last thing. It wants us to write the equation. So now we just need to write it in y equals mx plus b. So we have y equals, what did we say our slope was? 1/2 x minus 4. So that's it. So once we find our b, don't forget to do this step. Write the equation, plug it back in. Okay? Skip to slide 11 on page 3 for you guys. Okay? Let's try this one. Okay? So what do we start by doing?
Page 4.
Sorry, page 4. What do we start by doing? Label. Okay, so what do I label 1 for? XY. What do I label the slope? M. Now, what do we do? Solve for b, right? We're going to plug it into our y equals mx plus b formula. So what's my y?
4.
4. M is?
-3.
-3. X is?
1.
1. And then we don't know b. So now simplify. We have 4 equals -3 plus b. How do I get b by itself? Add 3. So then b is what? 7. Are we done? No. What's our last step that we have to do? We have to put it into the equation. Okay, so we have y equals, what's our slope? -3x. What's our b that we just found? Plus 7. Questions when you're given 1 point and the slope? We're good? Okay, now we're going to be looking at given 2 points. Okay, there's just one extra step. What do you think that step is? Well, let's start with labeling. What would I label these normally? X1, Y1, X2, Y2. What do we do when we normally have that? What are we missing? We're missing the slope, so we need to follow Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. We have to find our slope, okay, which is what they start doing here, and then we find our B. Okay, so this one just has that one extra step in there, and that is finding our slope. Okay? Questions about that before I go do an example? Let's see one. Go to slide 18. I know I'm skipping around a lot. This slide with the table. So it gives us in a little bit of a different form, but it gives us our 2 points here. So our 2 points are -1, 3, and 2, 6. So start by labeling. What do I label those? X1, Y1, X2, Y2. Okay? From here, what do we need to find? What don't we have? Well, something very important that we don't have. Slope. We need to find our slope. So we have M. What's my Y2? 6 minus Y1? 3. What's my X2? Minus a -1. That turns into plus. So here we have 3 over 3, which is 1. Okay. Now that I have my slope, we have our slope. What don't we have now? We have X and Y's. What don't we have? B, right? We don't have our B, so we need to do the step we were doing before. Okay? Now, we have 2 points. What do we use?
6.
We're just going to pick one. Pick whichever one you want to use. Okay? I'm going to pick, usually you try to pick the easier one. So I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to pick -1, 3. But you can do 2 and 6 also. Okay? So I have my X and my Y, so what's my Y? 3. My slope that we just found is 1. What's my X? -1 plus B. So now we just need to solve for B. So we have 3 equals 1 times -1. -1 plus B. What's my last step to get B by itself? Add 1. So we have 4 equals B. However, is that my answer? No. What do I need my answer to be? The equation, right? So we need Y equals, what's our slope? 1, right? We found our slope right here. So slope is just X, or 1X, and then what's our B that we just found? Plus 4. This is our answer. Okay, don't stop and treat the B as your answer. Okay, we got to have the equation as our answer because that was our whole goal. Okay, so reminder, if it asked you to graph this, what do you start with? You start with the y-intercept, right? You start with the 4, and then you use your slope to do rise over run.
Yeah.
Yeah? Questions? We got one more. I want you guys to try this one. Okay, try this one. It's that very next slide. Start by labeling, and then find everything you need to find. Find your slope, find your B, and then write your equation. All right, so when we're given 2 points, what do we start with? What do we do? Label first, okay? So this is X1, Y1, X2, Y2. So now what do we need to do? Because what are we missing? We're missing the B. What else are we missing? Slope. We have to have the slope first. How do we find the slope? Yep, do the equation. So slope, what's our Y2? 14 minus -1. That turns into positive. And then X2. Good, turns into positive. So what's 14 plus 1? 15 over 5, which is 3. Perfect. We have our slope. Okay? So think slope-intercept form. We have our slope out of the slope-intercept form. Now we're missing our intercept, which is our B. Okay? So how do we find our B? Yep, pick one of the points. So which one should we probably pick? I would pick the one with the smaller numbers. But really, it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to pick 2, -1. Or -2, -1. Okay, so what's my Y in this case? -1. What's my slope? My M. Yep, we just found it. What's X? -2. Plus B, right? We don't know what B is. Now just solve. We have -1. What's 3 times -2? Negative 6 plus b. Last step would be to
Add 6.
add 6 over. So we have 5 equals b.
Okay.
Am I done?
Yep. Write down the equation.
Yes, write the equation. So we have y equals 3x plus 5. See how I underline the things that I found? If you underline it, then you will remember that you have to go back and write it. Okay? Then you don't have to look through all your work wondering, oh, I don't remember what that was. Okay? Questions over writing equations. So we went over 1 point in the slope, and then we went over with 2 points. Questions? Are we okay? All right.